Hey, happy yellows, my name's the Red. You might remember me from movies such as System Shock, and just like the Avatar, I went into slumber for almost 5 months. But hey, not 100 years. But here we are for top 10 games that I played this year, but with a small twist. I have 3 rules and they're very straightforward. There have to be games that I've never played before. This does get iffy with games like online servers, but I'm just going to chalk them up to like, I don't know, 20 plus hours of game time. Only 1 game per franchise, a lot of people do that, and I think that's pretty fair. And the final rule, which is also pretty fair, at least one half of the list has to be games that were either re-released this year or either came out this year. For example, Persona 3 Portable would count due to me never being played it, but Persona 4 doesn't because I have completed it multiple times. With those rules being set, I will now talk about the games that I really enjoyed this year. I hope you enjoyed this video, and of course, spoiler warning for when the games come up. I'm going to be honest, I've never been the biggest fan of open world games like these, especially ones like GTA 5 when there's a lot of just mindless driving. That's not something that I personally find fun. But then again, there is also the good parts where there's like, you turn on the cheats like in San Andreas, you fly around in a tank, and then there's also just like the fun, goofy game modes of GTA 5 and the heist. Those are fun. I enjoyed them when I was growing up, but as I grew up, it wasn't really for me anymore. However, this game was different. Although the main story was quite limited on where you could go, it still had an open world mode and stuff to do, although most of it was just like collecting just random stuff and trinkets. It's not overall exciting, but it gives you a reason to explore far and wide in this Prohibition-era America, and it's still quite small and comfy with nice cars to ride, like the Crazy Horse, which I clipped out of the map with. That's pretty fun. I gotta agree. Have you ever clipped out in real life? Just ship the back rooms. However, where the game is the strongest is in the characters and the story. I found myself getting attached to everyone in the Solari family, and just how everyone got along, which made it so hard when everything went to hell at the end. But I'm glad I got to experience it, especially with a charismatic and compelling character like Tommy Angelo. Where the game does falter is the driving. Now, not the normal day-to-day driving, that's fine. I'm specifically talking about that fucking race. Anyone who has played this game knows what I'm talking about. This nightmare of an experience was enough alone to drop a game placement or 2. It's that miserable, but it's just a small part of an honestly amazing game. And if you haven't played it, I genuinely recommend it. It's a fun time. Just don't play Classic. Please. The race is garbage. Just please. Super Mario RPG. It is the only one just for me. When I play the game, I get lost in a phase. Then I find out I'm stuck in Gino's maze. Anyone that gets that reference, based, honestly. Joking aside, I'll admit, from the hype and talk I've heard from this game, I thought it was going to be much more than what I played, but I still thoroughly enjoyed what I did. And especially as Cullux put it, the power of post-game content. The rematches against all the bosses were a blast, especially Johnny. I loved the 1v1 fight. And also, it's just small extra content they added, instead of just being a 1x1 remake, is always nice. Honestly, BDSP that's like hanging fruit, to be honest. Honestly, now that I've played this game, I can see the hype around Gino being a smash. He's a likable puppet, and would make for a unique moveset, all things considered. But that also being said, I gotta give Mallow props as well. They both, although basically being stuck in cameo hell, are both characters I ended up loving, especially Mallow, with him, although being a little dense, has a good heart. I won't lie, one of my favorite scenes in the game is when you go to the Cloud Kingdom and Mario brings out an umbrella when Mallow meets his parents, knowing that there will be a storm, which is his gimmick as well. I've always found it funny though. Mario, of all things, ends up making some of the greatest RPGs I've played, and with a 1,000-year door around the corner sometime early next year, I'll have yet another Mario RPG I've never played before to explore. Overall, it might not be the 10 out of 10 masterpiece I thought it was going to be, and from what I heard from people, but I'm very glad I finally got my hands on this game and got to play it after all these years. Hey, post-production me here. I just found out while looking through all my footage on my Switch, my playthrough of SMT5 is completely not recorded. Apparently, all of my recordings between the beginning of this year to when I first got my Switch is all gone. And I don't know where they are. So yeah, sorry about that. So I'm gonna have supplemental footage of random stuff. Not Subway Surfers, though. I put off playing this game for some time, mostly because until this year, my Switch has been collecting dust on my shelf, just like my Wii U pad that I turned into a TV remote. I'm glad, though, that the first game I played on it after some time was SMT5. A very solid game, gameplay and exploration-wise. It does have open world, which I don't like, but in my opinion, there's so much to do and explore, finding quests that give you special demons like Aiden, Gabriel, and even post-game demons from completing certain endings and getting to use Nuar and Abdiel, both important figures in the story. Although, a lot like Persona, I'm a Yoshitsune enthusiast, even if he's only living on doping in a dream at the end of the game. You know, I love him. It's Hasutobi based. The Shiva fight is also a blast, and honestly thinking about it, SMT5 has some of my favorite gameplay in a Megami Tensei game that I've played, of course. That also does include Persona, but Real comes close to matching it for me, but it will just depend on the day that you ask. However, there is one weak point for me. It's honestly just the overall story and how it kind of felt disjointed. Kind of like the first half, you just gain your Nahabino powers and fight to survive, and then after the whole school incident, it's now a struggler who will sit on the throne and decide the fate of the world. It happens so fast I can still feel the whiplash, but it makes up for it for just how insane the ramp-up is. You know, you go from just fighting a couple of slimes, and then you're fighting multiple Pantheons, and you are showing them that you are the fucking boss! It's also kind of a shame that to get the true ending, you need to fight Shiva, the game's super boss. But Shiva is so much harder than anything that you face in the game so far, that once you beat it, like, nothing's beating you. The game's just a cakewalk at that point. You grind so much just to be able to defeat him that it just becomes boring. It's a blemish on an overall solid experience. One that I may need to do another playthrough since I've only completed 2 of the 4 endings. In a lot of aspects, Marvel Spider-Man 2 for me is a game that I love, but also feel a lot of disappointment with. On one hand, it has great characters, fun combat, seamless transitions with fast travel, and just how great the movement flows in the overworld. A very good story, and Kraven being such an imposing villain for the first and second act. However, there's parts that I never really enjoyed. Mainly with the side content, a lot of it felt lacking. A lot of the side missions are pretty hit and miss. My favorite one being where you get to see Peter's first day working a bugle, and especially Howard's quest with the pigeons, with him being one of my personal favorite characters that has been reoccurring in the Insomniac games. But then there's the more lamer stuff, like the Prowler stashes or the Emily Main Foundation missions. I personally don't massively enjoy the whole holding buttons at a very specific frequency for it, but maybe it's just a skill issue, but I just something I don't enjoy. I also, although understanding why, I find it kinda lame that until Peter takes the Venom suit off, he's basically stuck using the black suit for those missions. As I always enjoyed customizing the suits in the story missions of the first game, I also just like the headcanon of Peter just deciding in the middle of crime fighting, just being like, I'm going to swap to this rampant outfit. You know, it kinda fits his character, to be honest. Thankfully, until the final mission, Miles is very chill of what he wears, so he was basically stuck with the best feline sidekick anyone could have, Spider-Man. Overall, though, I think it's the most solid of the games, but I just don't think it hits the same highs as the original for me. Except for the final moments of Kraven, which was impeccable, especially when you get to play as Venom. If I was to choose throughout all the games, I still think the original one is at the top, with this close behind, but honestly, all 3 of the games are honestly really good and worth anyone's time. The most underrated game of 2023 is in the number 6 spot for me. It's honestly one of the most unique and enjoyable games I've played in a long time. it's a spiritual successor to Resident Evil from the limited knowledge of the franchise. I'd say the second one is the closest to this game. And honestly, from how much I love this game, I'm thinking I might finally play one of the games. Even if I'm really bad with horror games, Freddy Fazbear got me quaking my boots, let alone a T-virus monster. That aside, this game is a lot of fun and has a surprising amount of content with cheats and a speedrun mode added when you finish the game. On top of New Game Plus, which allows you to keep weapons and smaller items, of course, no key items, and even a free cam mode, which you can find questionable things, but honestly, it's a really cool amount of random goofy stuff you find out of bounds. But besides that, the level design, character, and especially the weapon designs, I love them. A grenade that explodes into the alphabet, a shotgun called the Punctuation, and especially the game's pistol shooting A to Z depending on how much ammo is left, and even the ammo indicates if it's full from just being in alphabetical order. The attention to detail in this game is honestly amazing. I think my favorite part in this game is unlocking the super speed and infinite ammo, so I'm flying at supersonic speeds and jumping, which breaks the game, as you would think. With a shotgun, I'm basically Doomslayer, and I've come to slay puppets. I hate Muppets. I also really enjoy just Gordon as a person. He's honestly how I would react in a situation of sentient puppets that want to hug me to death, and Ricky basically being the voice of reason, and a fun counter to Gordon's cynical nature. The game has a crazy final act as well, with a Resident Evil style monster, but I won't spoil too much. I absolutely recommend this game. Pick it up on the next sale and support developers, pretty please. Just for me, please. After thoroughly enjoying the Fire Emblem spin-off game Smash Ultimate, I finally found a copy of Three Houses for cheap, and was my first exposure to a real Fire Emblem game that isn't just cope from the Smash community. And from what I played, it was honestly worth the wait. I never was the biggest fan of Tactics games until I recently played Refrain Core earlier this year, and it made me realize I've been missing out. Now, about the game, my biggest drive was the story and the characters more than the actual combat, but ultimately, it was a skill issue for the simple fact that I did all the endings back to back, which, although I didn't mind, since I love seeing the game from the point of view of each respective house, it does get a little draining doing the same missions over and over, like 3 or more times, but hey, I don't regret the over 100 hours I put into the game. Now, the real question that no one was asking, which lord did I side with? And it's gonna be Claude. Dude is the whole base department, and yeah, Dimitri's character development is the best of the three in my opinion, and yeah, Elder God lets you destroy the government. Neither lets you destroy the most deadly of all forces, racism. Oh, and it also helps that the Golden Deer have arguably the best side characters. I love every single one of them, especially Raphael.
Do not eat uranium.
Dude is a brick shithouse with a heart of gold. And others, which I do love, but nothing beats Fantasy Sam Sulek. Even the expansion, although likely being not canon, is still a fun romp around, and adds even more content to enjoy in the main game, which I did on my Black Eagle playthrough, which was my last. Overall, this game is the gateway for an entire genre of games that I never actually thought I would enjoy. And honestly, it's gonna be hard for other games in this genre to compete with it, but hey, maybe my opinion will change when I play Engage next year. Here's a robot, here's a cop, and he's on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Now I'd buy that for $1. Joking aside, this game was a genuine and happy surprise. I didn't expect it to be so much fun, and honestly, having the spirit of the first film, I would assume the second. I haven't watched it, even though this is more or less filling for Robocop lore-wise, as I'm told, but gameplay-wise, oh, it feels like Robocop, alright? You're a absolute fucking beast, and everything is in your way with upgrades to get boosts, armor, oh, and my personal favorite, the fucking unmatched power of the sun. The gunplay is super smooth, but the best part is the choose your own dialogue, which affects the world around you. For example, a character which fears robots being able to overcome it, or a kid spraying a Robocop mirror, if you're lenient with your sensing, it's a lot like Fallout in that way. And the UA kind of reminds me of it as well. And Detroit is basically already Fallout in this game, so yeah, this is just Fallout 5 basically. But it does come with a steep price in my opinion. I'm glad I got to experience it, but $80 in Monopoly money was a steep price to pay for all things considered. But I didn't mind it after I grabbed a guy, threw him in the air, slow motion, shot his fucking nuts, and then threw a bike at him and he exploded. Not many games can you say that, and honestly, I love that I can do it. For me, at the very least, Xenoblade 3 was my game of the year for 2022. So, getting an expansion for the initial game is all I ever wanted. And it met and bet my expectations. And it honestly made me sad and glad, since it honestly wraps the whole story in a neat bow and sets up the possibility for more in the future. It's also nice to see Shulk, who takes the place of Dunban in this game, and is more mature, but he's not really feeling it, which honestly broke my heart the first time I heard it, on top of the main hub being Colony 9. And then you have Uncle Rex!
Man, I don't feel like working out today. Maybe tomorrow.
Leave it to Uncle Rex.
Yeah, motherfucker! Omnichad has an AoE passive that gives everyone around him testosterone. Surprise bro as a genetic god. And I've heard people, whine and say, it doesn't fit him, it's not fair. But he ain't sugarcoating it. He can hit you with those double spinning edges with his massive crit weight until he dies. He gains aggro that Shulk and Nickel could dream of. And the other characters are cool, and the characters who are ancestors, who Nickel and Glimmer. But honestly, it doesn't matter. I just played Rex, died, everyone else revived me, went back to Rexing around. I wasn't sugarcoating it. I fucking love Rex in this game. Now, leaving Uncle Rex aside, instead of talking about the combat of the expansion, since honestly it has a lot of similarities of the base game, without the Mobius forms, instead of having a Unity system where you can mix and match, but I kind of just left it because I'm basic, I'm vanilla. What I think is a huge improvement from the base game, though, was the world traversal and the sense of completion, in the sense of the game telling you what quests or collectibles or secrets that are left in the areas, so it made it look even deeper in places where I thought, I found everything, but no, there was still more, and I was genuinely surprised. And honestly, some of them were pretty cool to find, which I really enjoyed, and quests making items you need collect to show up as you're in a radius around them was a big improvement from the previous expansion, Torna. You can skip a lot of quests as well, which you couldn't do in Torna. It's not like you had to complete quests as well in Torna. If you cannot hear, I do not like the Torna DLC. And also, I got to explore more of Ionios, and Ionios has a really cool map. So overall, I just really loved the map exploration and the gameplay, because Xenoblade 3 has probably the best gameplay in the games. Overall, I can't put into words why I love this game so much, except that you can feel the love that the developers had for the series. And especially so with the developer passing the torch, which for some is worrisome, but for me, I have optimism because of how masterclass this game was in both base game and DLC. And honestly, yeah, I'm just looking forward to the future. Tiger dropping into the second place is Like a Dragon Gaiden, the first game in this mainline series with the handle Like a Dragon, which, get used to it, buddy, because it's here to stay. But what can I say about this game? Well, it takes place during the events of one of my favorite games of all time, being Yakuza 7. Turned base for a reason, guys. But we can see it from the point of view of that random guard Matase hired, also named Joryu, and we see more of the Daidoji faction that he works for. And I gotta say, the story in this game had me in suspense the whole way. Though, the writing's good when Joryu is at gunpoint, about to be executed, and you're wondering, how's he gonna get out of it? There's no rubber bullets, no magic spell that'll get him out of it. I genuinely thought that Hanuma was going to sacrifice himself, since you don't see him in 7. So, yeah, I just knew that it wasn't the same love and care as 7 did. Another thing that it's also going for, it had one of the most heartbreaking moments in this series. If you've played the game, you know what I'm talking about. It's the scene with the orphans coming up to the camera, and they're talking about just, how much they enjoyed their lives, and Kiryu got to see that they were growing up without him, and he turned into a blubbering baby, just like me. and then Hanawa, that son of a bitch, hits you with the Haruto family drawing .png, and my heart grew 3 sizes that day. That shit sucked, man. Enough about my heart being destroyed by peak fiction. Let's talk about the gameplay, which is also peak. Turning a brutish Yakuza into a 007 spy of stupid flying shoes, magic wire that grabs and throws people, and weapons that, like, giving him an explosive ciggy with a heat action that turns into basically a nuclear bomb against coughing babies, and who can forget the drones that would make even Barack Obama proud. On top of keeping that brutish style we're all familiar with, that both two wildly different fighting styles, but ultimately make for an engaging gameplay. And let's not forget about the returning and new minigames that just make it, I thought was going to be a 10-hour mid into 30 plus hours of dopamine, a whole coliseum with, although limited movesets, classic playable characters like Gary Buster Holmes, the chicken and sheep from that movie minigame in 7, but also judgment characters like Kaido.
Damn it! These guys will stop coming on us!
Bruh. It's pretty sick they would let us have all of that on top of having all different arenas to fight in. It's nice that they brought it back one more time since being absent for the last few games. Pocket racing is also back, on top of it being more fleshed out this time. They gave you a custom map maker? Like, what? Although it does suck because you can't share it with friends. The final thing I want to bring up is Joryu is the first fully customized character. Like, giving him clown makeup or a stupidly brat outfit which says, "Look at me," even though he's meant to be a secret agent. But then, you could also just become Luffy from One Piece. That's always an option. Before I talk about the number 1, though, I just want to say, I was told by a friend that this feels more like better send-off for Kiryu than 6, and honestly, I have to agree, it feels more tightly packed, and it feels like a more beautiful resolution for the character. Even if he will have his last hurrah in 8, I generally love how Ryuga Studio made this game, and it makes me excited for 8, which also got a demo, which I couldn't play more than 5 minutes of because it made me want to have the game right fucking now. Please, please, just come out, bring it out right now. I'm begging you, man.
I want it now!
Haha, I lied for the last century. Before we talk about number 1, I want to talk about a few games that just didn't make the cut, but I wanted to bring up because they were pretty solid games. I also want to show just a list of games that, you know, didn't make the cut because I either didn't finish them or I just didn't have enough time to just say if I really liked them. So I'm going to bring the list now. And now for the honorable mention lightning round. Let's go. Meteor Maker is a Mario Maker-like game, but instead of 5 billion things killing you at 1 second being looked down upon, it's looked still down upon, but the goal of the game is to kill people, so it's kind of viable. But this game has more customization for the character rating, but not really for the person making the game. The way the developers made it is so people can't make death traps, is by adding a little gremlin that collects gen mat, which is cool, but it also limits the map design. There's no parkour to be had because there might be a grappling hook, but since that little dude can't jump, you ain't making a map that can do that. On top of it being super easy just to make a maze that loops around forever, which is kind of endorsed since you get points for people giving up on the map. Overall, it just makes a game kind of worse in my opinion, but it's a really cool concept, and I honestly can't wait to see how it changes it up in more future seasons. Yomi Hustle is one of the most innovative fighting games I've played in a while. You become an anime protagonist that gets to absolutely destroy their fucking victims with absolute spectacle. But also having a full Steam Workshop support makes it an absolute blast to play. If I was talking about games on price and enjoyment alone, this would probably be in the top 5. But it does come with a hindrance of, you know, you've kind of seen all the game has to offer. It ends up relying on Workshop support, which is a lot of fun and cool characters, but they all kind of feel like the Mugen experience, where people just keep trying to one-up each other, and it just gets to a point where, you know, there's combos that do pitiful damage, but, you know, you have to sit there and wait for them to finish it. Oh, by the way, they have a touch death, so, you know. Those are small nitpicks, though, for an overall great game, so please, if you have a few pennies lying around, and it's a fun thing your friends can do, just give it a go. Anyone will enjoy it, in my opinion. now for number 1. Pizza Tower. I know a lot of people will disagree with me this being a number 1, but I genuinely love this game and everything it stands for. I've said it before, but this game, a lot like others, feel like it was made for me. When I was a kid, a lot like the developers of this game, I adore the Wario Land games, especially the Fort. The art, the level design, the music, and just the vibe was everything I could ever want. So when I found out there was a game coming out that's kind of like that, I almost instantly bought it. However, that game was Anton Ball, which I also have a lot of hype for with the demo, and I can't wait for that passion project to come out.
This is a nationwide alert. Anton Ball Deluxe is $9.49 on Steam. Anton Ball Deluxe is $9.49 on Steam.
That being said, I did buy this game first day when it came out. I did drop it until I got P rank on almost every map, except for the World 4 maps. I wasn't really the biggest fan of them, but even like the smallest downside in this game is still peak. Peppino Spaghetti is a mood. A down on his luck pizzeria owner going on a warpath for his store to not get blown up by a talking pizza, where he breaks inhuman speed as he keeps his combo and doesn't sugarcoat it with taunting, with a unique map after another map. No map really shares the same design. All are really unique, with my favorites being War, Fast Food Saloon, and of course the Freddy Fazbear map. Who can't dislike the Freddy Fazbear map? Every single bit of this game, you can feel the care and love the developers had for the genre. And I can't put into words except it's on par with the game's soundtrack, each one being a banger after another, especially the song that plays when you're put on a timer and have to book it to the end without dying. Even the second lap, adds that more dread that that pizza face guy is going to destroy you and say goodbye to your P rank. And it all wraps up with a long boss fight where Peppino finally snaps and absolutely destroys Pizza Face, and the tower crumbles, bringing an end to a perfect platformer. Except I still haven't played the new Halloween map, but I look forward to it next year. This game is genuinely peak. I love this game so much. However, with that being said, I want to thank you for watching this video, and I want to talk about the future. I initially wanted to make more videos this year, but I had more personal things going on, which ended up with me not finishing the games I wanted to make topics on. But I want to do more content in 2024. One being trying to make a review, even if it's a small one, and finally get to working on that Yu-Gi-Oh! Project that I hinted, which I need to make it back up for this time, because last time I lost everything and just gave up. But hey, you live and learn. With that being said, though, for real, if you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more, please hit the like and subscribe button. Or hell, just don't. I don't mind. I genuinely am glad that you got to watch this video. Tell me any possible games you would like me to talk about, and who knows, maybe it might be a game on the 2024 list. Happy holidays, everyone, and goodbye.